That red light means I'm Brent Leary.
Oh, I thought it meant we were in some district in Amsterdam. I'm Paul Greenberg.
And I'm sheltering in place, but not in Amsterdam. I'm still in Atlanta. And we are the CRM Playaz. Wow. You know what? I wonder if this is how like Joe DiMaggio felt. You know, every day, every game he was hitting. This is history, because this is like the third month every week of doing the Playaz straight. We've never done this before.
Judging from the response, we'll probably never be doing it again.
Yeah, it's not like we're getting a lot of fanfare. Maybe Joe D probably got a little bit more fanfare for 56 games. That's
slightly. And even for that era, made more money than we're making at this. I'll say that. And that's even if we keep the dollars that era as dollars equivalent to this era.
I heard that he actually made more money selling coffee. So,
I wonder how many people actually remember the Mr. Coffee commercials with Joe D. I mean, most of the people we know probably don't even know who Joe DiMaggio is, much less the Mr. Coffee. They say, I doubt they even know he's a baseball player, much less Mr. Coffee's leading spokesperson.
I am not going to lie. When I was a kid, I only knew him as the coffee dude. I mean, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. So I think he was hawking Mr. Coffee like in the 70s. So I literally did not know anything about, let alone 56 games, anything about him in the Hall of Fame or nothing. I just know him as, that's the coffee guy. And then I was amazed when I found out that he actually played baseball and was like good. It was like great. So,
yeah, like one of the all-time great baseball players. I know that must have been a shock. I said, well, then you kind of wonder what the hell is he doing selling coffee?
That did cross my mind.
So great,
little 10-year-old guy. I was like, what's the coffee dude? He played ball.
Probably made more money as Mr. Coffee, right? But he probably made more money as the Mr. Coffee guy than he did playing baseball back then.
Well. He's still a good guy. He was still Mr. Baseball. What was his nickname? Mr. something?
No, not Joe D.
Didn't he have like a nickname? Like he went as the greatest living baseball player until he died, right? That was his claim to fame.
That was his personal claim to fame, meaning he called himself that. That didn't make him that. He called himself that. I mean. My brother and I were talking a couple of days ago, and my brother sent me this note and it said finally, and the link, and in the link it was basically somebody looking at the best players at each position in the history of all the teams, and for center field in the Yankees they had Mickey Mantle over Joe D. And Bobby, my brother and I, Bobby, said, both of us agreed, finally somebody gets it.
Wow.
Finally somebody understood.
You're going to start like a civil war going on between that one,
Oh, it kind of was one, because it was more Joe D like leading the enemy, right?
The enemy.
He always saw himself as the best.
All right, we need to stop all this sports talk, because that's kind of like what tomorrow's for, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it tomorrow if we don't stop.
So let's get into it, because we actually got a lot of stuff to cover. But you know how I like to start. I always like to start with a little recap. And look at this. I just got to bring this up here. Look what Jason Lundy said about yesterday's happy hour. Did you see this?
Yeah, no, I actually did. I actually then posted. We still have 6 or 7 tickets available for next week. Here's the link. Register. Right. So if you find this post on LinkedIn, everybody, find me the share that I made. You'll see the link to registration for the happy hour. This was actually an amazing happy hour. It's a very diverse happy hour for us, really. I mean, aside from the 2 constants, meaning you and me, actually, and Bob Fagel and Jason are two other constants.
No, we didn't really need to bring up Bob, but that's okay.
But he's a constant. What can we say? We had Mitch Lieberman on again for the first time. Somebody who you will be seeing very shortly on for the second time. We had Alan Berkson, Alex Shapiro. We had Rebecca Miller from Pega on for the first time. We had Doug Kim, who's now at MIT Media Labs, at the Media Labs, having left Cogito, on for the second time. Donnie, who's a regular. We had, one of my favorites of all time, we had John Sullivan, who is the former CIO of Virgin Trains, who's also literally one of the funniest people I ever met, and at the same time, seriously accomplished. Marshall Lager, there's Catherine Bonesteel, who you remember from last week, I'm sure, if you watched the show, was doing these astonishing things for helping all the frontline workers, to a degree that's mind-blowing. She actually told us at the happy hour got some stuff. She's now delivering PPEs to the DEA of all things, right? And then, of course, the lower right in his normal position, if you look at the picture, is Esteban Kolsky, and who is, one of the four horsemen. I think he's the only only horseman who ever went to a vendor who retained his position as a horseman. Although Brent rightfully assigned him as Pestilence for that one.
No, he assigned himself as that, but that's all right.
That's true. But Esteban came on late in the show. I mean, it was great in the happy hour. These are fun, man, and people should just. I think the Jason's hashtags say it well. Good times, good vibes, and it really is. So, well, I would highly suggest if you haven't been on one, get on one ASAP.
Let me ask L. Nicole France. Do you agree with that assessment, L. Nicole?
Oh yeah, it was good. It was a lot of fun. I'm laughing at that particular picture of Esteban because I think that accurately captures his level of enthusiasm for the whole thing. But, yeah.
So somebody would say something nice about him, but he knew I told him, "Come on, people have been saying nice things about you." So
I think that abruptly stopped as soon as it was actually there.
That's exactly it. It ended at that moment.
As it should have. So, first of all, welcome. This is like the third Thursday for you, right?
Yes, I don't get to do an evil tag team with Jamie Anderson this time.
No, well, you did pretty good last time. That's why we separated the two of you. You scared us.
You guys, you can hold your own. Absolutely. Although, you know what Jamie did the last time.
I did hear about that. I haven't seen it yet, but I did hear about it.
Look, here's the thing. It's probably good you didn't see it before you got on the show, because it would make the end of the show a lot worse for you.
Okay. Yeah. I will say, though, on the subject of our favorite word, ambient.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Well, so here's something we were tossing around as an idea, Liz and I, the other day. What if it wasn't the Ambient Experience Summit or the Ambient Experience 50, but the A+ experience?
That would have been so much better.
Yeah? What do you guys think?
I like that.
Actually, the D- experience would have been better than the Ambient Experience, right? So...
yeah.
So A+, yes.
Yeah, you think so? Because that's what we're striving for, right? We want the A+ experiences.
Yeah, I'm with you. Good luck on that one.
You
had me at anything other than ambient, but that's
But starting with A, I figure A+, we didn't have to get that far through the dictionary.
We don't have to change the acronym.
Exactly.
There it is.
Although, I don't know if you guys realize this, but I did, in talking to a few of the folks that we nominated as AX50 recognees, I don't know, how would we describe it? The people we really wanted to honor for the work that we know they have put into creating the ability to deliver great customer experiences. And apparently, if you Google AX50, you will find certain machine guns. So, yeah, that was
good. That's great.
That was not an association I can confirm that we had actually anticipated.
Our industry's taking this military turn, if you think about it. So we have the AX50, and that's a machine gun. Then we have C4 HANA, which is plastic explosive.
There you go. There you go. We're gonna blow it all up. That's what we're gonna do.
Look what this actually, it's funny. LinkedIn user, you could at least show their name. This is a little new thing in StreamYard here. They're letting us show the comments.
Hey.
Liz Miller. Liz Miller is the one who said A+ experience. Wait a minute. Why is it? Okay, let me do this one. There's Liz. There it is. A+ experience. Here we come. So that means we're all in a favor for this.
All right. Well, we'll just marshal our forces and get that machine gun and do our work.
What we need is like that, the great big steamroller or like the great big thing that they use on the field for the grass. We're just gonna plow over everybody who decides that they
remember those cartoons when they had those, and then the creature went under, it would come out completely flat, right?
Yeah.
Would go over and come out completely flat, like taffy, right? So we're gonna have to steamroll Ray. It looks like. So.
Do they even have funny cartoons? I mean, like, not with all the stuff they got going, like murder cartoons. Do they have like Bugs Bunny cartoons anymore?
Yeah, you can still find them.
Anima.
Anime or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, you can watch. They're available.
I'm a Flintstones guy, so
no, but you can find I mean, they're being shown. They're still in syndication.
I mean, on YouTube, my friends. YouTube.
Right, you can also find them on Nickelodeon.
By the way, I just found out who LinkedIn user is. It is actually our buddy Sven, and we missed Finn yesterday.
Yeah, he wasn't feeling too well, so he's on for next week though. We've got him signed up and ready finally to bring this guy. So we can finally see Sven and talk to Sven as opposed to read Sven.
Yes,
which we've been doing for years.
I think I'm going to have to join in next week because one, I'm going to have the day off. So like drinking at noon, not a problem. And the other is they're going to be re-roofing our house. So I might need it anyway.
Wow. All right. Well, the bouncers will move aside for you anytime. I had to fire 2 or 3 of the bouncers though. I did fire them because they were letting people in. I didn't have any idea how they got there.
I love it.
All right. So we've got a couple of things to do before we get to watching our watch list winner stuff. Got a couple of topics. Do you want the topics first? I think we should do some of the topics first and then pins, because that kind of breaks up a little that, serious kind of conversation that could happen with these topics.
Always so serious.
And I got a surprise for you guys too. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it'll come at some point in time.
A Joe DiMaggio Mr. Coffee commercial?
Not that big of a surprise. So let me do one of the topics that I thought would be kind of interesting to.
Oh, wait, before you get to that, Brent, can I do maybe we should make this a thing, but how to connect things to Catalina Island. So you guys were talking about Joe DiMaggio, right?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Married to Marilyn Monroe.
Correct.
Briefly. Right. Who even more briefly lived here on Catalina Island with her first husband.
No kidding.
Yeah, way.
Who was her first husband?
It was really 2 or 3 months, but she's got her whole spot in our local museum as if this was a really formative part of her life. So yeah.
Do you know, and I'm going to tie what you said back to Judaism. Watch this. You said, when I said, really, you went Yahweh. And Yahweh is the Hebrew word for God in Jewish religion. So there you go. Yahweh. I doubt you were saying, you sounded more like you were speaking from the Caribbean than Judaism, but nonetheless.
Well, how do I transition from that? I mean, that's
robotic processor. That's simple.
Speaking of robotic processing,
speaking Catalina Island.
So we've all heard about, the dearth, what's happening with, the travel industry, the hotel industry. It's like just getting killed, right? But we're also hearing about just how huge Zoom has grown and all these video kind of thingies has grown. Had you guys ever heard of this thing called RV share before?
No.
RV share. So they call it like the Airbnb for RVs.
Oh my God.
I was just going to go there. I guess.
I was afraid it was. I was
Yeah.
thinking, I hope it's not an RV.
But I just find this fascinating. So everything else is cratering when it comes to travel and hospitality and all that. But guess what's not cratering? Check this out.
I'm telling you what, when you go to the Golden Shores RV, I think it's RV Estates in Long Beach, near where the Catalina Express lands, that place is packed. I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I was amazed. I don't think there's a spot left in that RV park. So it doesn't surprise me too much. It's like, let's go tortoise, man. Take your home with you.
Listen,
people want to get out.
Well, this is their way of getting out safely. And look, there's I saw an ad not too long ago for some. There's this gigantic. It's an RV park, but you can actually buy a lot in it, and you actually can buy a lot. It's in Tennessee. It's gigantic. But this thing literally is basically take your RV, pluck it down, and make it a neighborhood, but leave when you want, right? And it's like $20,000.
It's like buying a mooring, an inexpensive mooring at that rate, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. That's the thing. And they said there's probably, I think there were 1,000 lots. I mean, there's a lot of lots, but most of them were sold already. I mean, they're just gone. So obviously, I mean, RV is RV, tiny house. Yeah, that's the other one. I can't go there. I don't want to even go to tiny houses, man. I'm sorry.
It's either that or the tour bus. If you've seen Esteban's RV, it's very much got the tour bus vibe about it.
Exactly, and that does not look like a tiny house.
No.
No. Mm-mm.
All right. Now here's my transition. Speaking of RPAs,
wow, that's a beer, right?
Microsoft did a little acquisition this week. They bought a robotics process automation company. I never heard of Softmotive, but
no.
Nicole, have you ever heard of Softmotive?
I had not. I admit I have not delved deeply into the labyrinth of RPA, but no, hadn't heard of them.
Well, look, I mean, I don't know who these people are, but here's the thing. About 2-3 months ago, friend of ours, or at least an acquaintance of ours, Phil First from Horses for Sources, wrote a post, or a fairly long post called "RPA is Dead. Long live
RPA. Yeah.
Long live integrated automation platforms." And here's the thing: Phil actually has credibility when he says things like that, in particular, because he was one of the original RPA people. He literally is one of the people who helped coin the term, and he's right about what he's saying. He said, look, I mean, RPA is valuable for its efficiencies, right? Meaning, it helps make more efficient the legacy systems that you have, but when you live in a world where things are being consistently either disrupted or changing, at least changing, if not fully disrupted, on a fairly consistent basis, it ends up being a brake on the progress of a company, because they keep basically creating the efficiencies, but not being very effective and aligning with the change. So he's saying, so now we look at something, if we look at something that combines AI, RPA, and what was the other thing? Analytics, then that's the integrated automation platform he's talking about. And, to his point, he's basically saying, look, we need something that is much more adaptable when it comes to taking care of processes, when it comes to, just even creating business rules now, because there are business rules and business rules in the technological sense. But there's business rules that we're going to have to create that we don't even know exist yet. Right. So, we need to have systems that can actually help us identify where the need might be, take a look at the value of it once we make an attempt at making those changes, and then making the changes, and then adjusting accordingly as time goes on. And I look, as much as for what it's worth, because RPA is not my specialty either, but I have looked into it somewhat. I am completely in Phil's camp on this. I don't think RPA. I'm happy that companies look. How do I put it? I'd rather companies had it than didn't. But
I'm with you, Paul. But I think the issue that I have long had with RPA in general, and let's be fair, I mean, like any of this stuff, like AI, for example, it's one thing to talk about it in a very general, generic sense. It's another thing when you're actually getting down to brass tacks and talking about the specific things that you're doing and the specific ways in which you're doing them. But in general, the big issue I've always had with RPA is going back to something you guys were talking about last week, which is, are you using digital capabilities, or actually are you really digitally transforming? Are you really transforming what you're doing? Yeah. And the big problem I see is that it's really easy all too often with RPA to, really automate, frankly, what is a pretty shitty process to begin with. And you could do it a lot faster, and you might be able to increase the accuracy, but you're not necessarily doing the right thing. So you're not necessarily increasing your effectiveness. So I think as a tool, it makes sense. I think the challenge, like all of these tools, is how to use it thoughtfully and effectively. So, from that perspective, I kind of like that Microsoft is adding this into the portfolio. And I like the whole idea that this is like a visual tool, because it's a lot easier to understand what's happening when you're actually visually mapping workflows than when you're trying to think about it just in a kind of programming mindset, right? Like that visual approach, I think, is actually a really powerful tool, whether you're a developer or not. Yeah.
Although Phil's point, I think, is, again, it's one I fundamentally agree with too, is that and it goes to your point too, it supports efficiencies in legacy systems.
Yeah.
And to your point, it can support an efficiency in a improper process too. And now he's saying, but the disruptions and the changes are so dramatic that, and so continuous, that it's time for RPA per se to either be put to bed or evolve, let's say, to something bigger. But I'm wholeheartedly in support of
that. Adaptability is key, right? And I think we're seeing that right now at a massive, massive scale, because, if you have to make some adjustments, they might not necessarily be big adjustments, but you probably have to make some adjustments to some of your processes for a whole host of reasons. Stuff has changed with your customer base, or things have changed with your suppliers, or whatever it might be. Whatever these factors are, you need to make adjustments. And if you can't adapt those things easily and quickly, then you end up with, yet another sort of skeletal obstacle to operating effectively, right?
Yeah, it's almost sort of like the same old story with get a new technology, but you use this new technology just to do the same thing you've always done, just to try to make it cheaper and more efficient to do, as opposed to, wow, what could we do with this? And it's kind of the same principle. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think you put it in the right hands with the right people, and it can do some really good things. But if you put it in the hands of somebody who just is looking to make it more efficient or cheaper to do what we just do all the time, what's the point?
Yep.
I'm right. Look, I've never been a fan of efficiency, really. Never.
Wait a minute, you're not a fan of the OPS metrics?
No. I'm not a fan of Six Sigma. I'm not a fan of any of it. I've always thought Six Sigma was a joke, because it basically said, okay, here's an isolated group of processes, and we're going to make this optimal. And the processes can suck. It doesn't actually matter to Six Sigma at all, right? What matters to Six Sigma is you optimize whatever's there, right? And every Six Sigma black belt can come and knock me unconscious, I'm sure. But when I say that, because they'll say, no, it's much more than that. But it really isn't. I mean, I one point years and years ago, I spent months reading Six Sigma stuff, trying to like it, right? I was trying to, because everybody was doing it, right? And I was trying hard to like it. And I never liked it, because all I could see is it doesn't matter what's going on anywhere else, only in this area. Number one, it's isolated. They isolated from everything else going on in the entire company. And then they work on improving it, regardless of the impact it has anywhere else, which then, of course, keeps Six Sigma devotees in work, because something will break over there as a result of what they did over here, right? And there was an actual example of that I still remember, which was, it was kind of Six Sigma-ish. It was years ago, there was this company that had worked really hard on optimizing their financial processes, and they would work really hard. It was a mid-sized company, and they were a good company too. I liked them. And then one day they realized by optimizing the financial processes, they just built out a web presence, right, which they had never had, right? And they built out a web presence, and what happened was, as a result of the optimization of financial processes and then the links to the web and everything else that came to transactions, it created this annoying double registration thing for their customers. So they had almost the same thing twice. So they were freaking out because they said, well, if we fix that, we're going to lose a $40,000 benefit by fixing it. What do we do? I said, lose the $40,000 benefit and fix it, right? And they did. But that's what I'm saying. This thing was, they fine-tuned everything on that financial processes, and it was like perfect for that, and completely broke their relationship to customers on the web because the customers were just so annoyed that they had to register the same way twice that they just stopped registering.
All righty.
Efficiency.
That went a little deeper than I was expecting.
It's, I mean, this is the classic scenario for how you end up with a whole bunch of things that make sense on a small scale but don't work toward the greater objective, right? If you're not figuring out what the key objective is that you're working toward, it's really easy to end up doing something that looks really good in a small perspective but misses the bigger point. And I think that's really the story of CRM to me, Paul.
Yeah.
How do you avoid optimizing the subsystems at the expense of customers?
Well, that's why CRM is just CRM, the technology now, and not what we expected it to be.
Wow. All righty then. That got a little depressing.
That was bad. So we have to change the name of the show.
Well, no, I've got a surprise for you.
Oh no!
Because this is a little bit of. Remember that episode of Seinfeld where George said his worlds were colliding?
Yeah.
There was Independent George.
Yeah.
And then
no, I remember.
It was Relationship George, right? All right. So I had this really interesting conversation yesterday with John Colder Ice Lawson, because we do a Watch an Amazon show. Actually, I should say the cold one, the bold one, John Colder Ice Lawson. I'm like legally obligated to say this now.
That's part of the show.
Yeah, it's part of it. It's really, it's almost like those non-disclaimers for Esteban. I am obligated to say the cold one, the bold one, John Colder Ice Lawson, whenever I say his name at this point. And we do Watching Amazon, and we got into a bit of a tussle yesterday around who may be the biggest competitor for Amazon, because there was an article that talked about this partnership between FedEx and Microsoft and how that could potentially be, a shot against the bow of Amazon. And then he brought in another one, and it was kind of interesting. So I've asked the cold one, the bold one, John Colder Ice Lawson, to join us for this segment.
Contractual.
It's almost,
it doesn't say it though. Why didn't you put it in, man?
He just got a period next to his name there. I don't know exactly what that means.
I think that's the punctuational equivalent of the mic drop right there.
But you gotta say something first before you can drop the mic. So that's
what's that? Wait, I got something for you.
Uh-oh. Nicole, you and I just have to sit and watch this for a while.
No, you're a part of this. You're a part of this.
Oh yeah.
There we go. That's what we're waiting for. Now we're talking.
So I had to put a period there because it wouldn't show up if I didn't do it.
Really?
You come in without no banner at all. So that's why I had the period.
Well, that's why you should have come in with no banner at all. That's
you don't like my banner? All right.
No, it's nice. No, it's nice. No, you are the cold one and you are the bold one, so it's fitting. But I just wanted to bring you in and I guess collide my worlds here, because there seems to be something going on with everybody kind of sensing maybe there's a little, Amazon has lost a little on its fastball because of what's happened with the pandemic, and you're seeing different companies do some interesting things. And so I think was it last week when we asked who would be the most catastrophic loss? What company would be the most catastrophic loss? Would it be Amazon or would it be Walmart? And we went back and forth with a few. But then I'm starting to think maybe there's more than just one answer to this. Who's going to be Amazon's biggest competitor thing? Because they compete on so many dimensions and different levels. John, talk about what you said about the Facebook announcement yesterday, because I would love to get their take and see how these folks feel, how significant it is, and how much of a threat it could be to Amazon.
Okay, so if you don't know, Facebook announced Facebook Shops, right? And they are talking about doing that in partnership with other e-commerce players. So Shopify's CEO was on the call, and he talked about the integration between the two. Facebook Shops are both a destination, which of course you get it. You can make a store on Facebook, but it's also a component destination. So that means you can use part of it or all of it, right? So you can set up your shop so that it has certain products on the Facebook side, and then you can push it all the way for checkout on your current third-party e-commerce platform. So that was kind of cool. The other cool thing was they were talking about how this experience is going to be the same across all of Facebook's platforms. So if you start the order on, Instagram, I can check out on Facebook. I can do notifications about my shipping with Messenger and all of that. And so that, to me, seems very powerful. And I've gone back and forth with a couple other people talking about it too, where they're saying, is it, yes, a challenge for Amazon? And I say it is, but I don't think it's a challenge necessarily on the front end customer side necessarily of Amazon. But I do think it'll be a challenge for Amazon as no longer being the only place some of these third-party sellers can get their goods sold and create their own brands. So there you go.
All right.
Quick, fast.
So it's all, to me, going to boil down to the supply chain, not to Facebook stores, right? And I don't know how quick. Look, just because Shopify is involved and some third-party merchants, I mean, how Amazon has a actual organized supply chain, meaning, there's no point.
Is this,
you get the point. And,
is this sounding familiar to you yet from yesterday? Yeah. Somebody else might have been saying that.
Well, I mean, okay. But see, the thing is, the supply chain is also a component of Amazon. I don't have to sell on Amazon to use their supply chain. FBA is a fulfillment that I could also use to do this fulfillment for sales.
Yeah, but it's way more than that. It's boxing thing. I mean, it's the whole thing, right? From beginning to end, and speed. Look, for example, you remember on the Whole Foods delivery problem, they had the delivery window problem. 2 days ago, I get an email from Amazon saying, hey, we've solved the delivery window problem. And then I decided I didn't have anything to order, but I created an order just to see what would happen. And I had like 5 delivery windows right away, where I had none for a month, right?
Right.
So Amazon, in the midst of a frigging pandemic, where the supply chains being stretched to the nth, still managed to actually solve that problem, right? And we'll see how well it ultimately works, because somebody will write a macro and then or some little piece of code and will completely destroy it, which is what happened the first time. Well, that's what happened. The first time it was a trick, but it was announced on Reddit, and that was the end of it, right? So that's pretty formidable. And Facebook's coming in now. Facebook still has credibility issues in general, which they haven't solved. And Mark Zuckerberg is not the most liked human being on the planet by any means. So, and neither is Jeff Bezos. But it's
I'm about to say,
he doesn't care though. Mark Zuckerberg seems to actually care. So the thing is that I don't see that. I see that there's. I think
something different though, and I'm jumping in on you, Paul, because I got to get words in on this one. I hear what you're saying, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I think there's a different perspective to look at this from. So I'm looking at it from the perspective of sitting here on Catalina Island in a small town whose primary business is tourism. So a lot of our local economy is small shops and restaurants. And here's the interesting thing. These folks, some of these places have websites. We have a Chamber of Commerce website that, to varying degrees of effectiveness, most of them not very, sort of presents who the merchants are here on the island. But nobody here really has online ordering capacity. I don't know which shops you can actually order something for curbside pickup from. I mean, you could literally look in the window of some of them and point to what you want. But the fact of the matter is, I think there is a really interesting option here. And part of what piques my interest is the fact that Shopify is already starting to do this with Shop, is really trying to connect people with their local small businesses. So I can definitely see that Facebook has an opening here to create a set of connections that Amazon, frankly, isn't going to do and isn't interested in doing. And it's a totally different market, right? So, like, the ability for me, and I will say this, I agree with you on the criticisms of Facebook. Frankly, I don't love it. I hate going on it, but I do because there are people with whom that's the easiest way I can communicate.
Right.
And interestingly, again, in my local community, most of the information is not happening on the internet. It's happening on Facebook. So if these businesses are going to give themselves any sort of direct line to not just the local customers here who know who they are, and in many cases, literally individually know the owners of those businesses, when we finally do have some tourists coming back, that seems to me like a very likely place that people would go in order to find and engage with local businesses here. And it's going to be an interesting thing to see how that dynamic plays out, because I think that's a different perspective on this whole sort of digital supply chain, right?
And you know what? That's a niche, though. It's not gonna take down Amazon. The other side to it is, let me ask you a question.
Let's be clear. Nothing's gonna take down Amazon.
Right. So let me ask you this question though. How many of you have ever used Facebook's money thing?
No, let me ask you this question. First, the checkout is whatever checkout you use. It doesn't have to be Facebook's checkout. But I think you're missing the point when you say Facebook. Ain't nothing but old people like us on Facebook.
I don't think that.
Commerce that's being done is on Instagram. And Instagram is doing a lot of commerce. That's not even on the radar of most of us that, when we think about SMBs. But there are brands being launched. Trust me, when you talk about a Kardashian is not making their money on Amazon or Facebook. Right. They're making all their money from Instagram. Instagram is huge.
I guess I'll jump in, but how many people are Kardashians out there?
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
what I'm just saying.
How many people are Amazon? But Amazon has trained people to purchase on e-commerce. Once you get trained to trust a platform, they're not doing it just because they trust the Kardashians.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I go back to the foundational business models of both of these companies. I never ever thought about going to Facebook to buy anything. Wait a minute. I'm just saying wait a minute. The foundation of the company was to get people to be able to see their friends and families. It was never to buy stuff. Amazon, you go to Amazon, you know what you're going for. You're going to buy something. That's why they have 150 million people on Amazon Prime. And those people are going to absolutely try to optimize their spend because they've already spent $120.
one.
So
Everybody else that meets me that way will think.
So if you have 150 million people who have
I'm
already
going to
plugged
buy
down
anything from you.
120 bucks, they're going to optimize that. So if they've made the $120 investment, 150 million people, they're going to buy everything they can from Amazon to get their money's worth.
Let's put it like this. This is a play for things about 50 or I'm gonna say $75 and under. This is a play. All right. Amazon makes most of its money $25 and under. How do I know that? Because when Amazon first started FBA and free shipping, they had a number. They said free shipping over $30. Why do we say that over $30? Because you take the average median and then you move it up 10, 15%, and then that becomes your free shipping model. So we already know just by that number, their basic spend is less than $30.
So,
bang.
Well, wait a minute. How many years ago was that?
It's till to today. You can go out there right now.
Man, most of the stuff I buy it's cost that much. It would cost that much for a little guy to ship. If I'm going to buy something, I buy like a computer.
I'm not going to buy furniture on this. I get it.
More
now. So that
right. So it's
that limits.
You're going to buy furniture on Instagram, John. That's the real.
Yeah, but that you look at furniture on Instagram. Like that's the thing. That's what I'm getting at. Instagram is a marketing platform. That's what it's good at.
We'll see.
It's not a commerce platform.
I did.
It's a great marketing platform. One of the best ever, probably.
No, we've gone by the Gilmore Group.
It's like
this is the
tourist wish you was.
We've gotten to the McLaughlin group level here. All this.
I love it.
But I'm just gonna say this.
John, as far as it goes,
I'm not gonna say this. Apparently, I just want to say.
No, I was gonna say. Okay, you go ahead, Brett. I'll come back to him.
I told this to him yesterday. I think the folks at QVC should be a little nervous because this is a way for little guys that don't have TV studios to replicate what they do, because there's a lot of people who love buying that bad jewelry off of the QVC network, but that's just going to be a fraction. I mean, do you really see that eating tremendously into the 50% market share that Amazon has for online in the US? I don't think so.
I don't know.
We might be adding. I think we're probably adding to.
Yeah, you might be right. I think
that's a niche. It's a niche. And as far as it goes with you, John, if I know you as the cold one, the bold one, the only thing I'd buy from you is obviously a beer. It's literally, it would have to be one.
It'd be one, just one. Oh, stop!
Not even a 6-pack. One beer.
Oh, stop!
The cold one. That's it. I mean, I don't know what the cold one is, right? So, I'm saying it's like that's your Instagram as far as your moniker goes, but that it's that Instagram's Facebook's got a niche there, and sure, there's lots of little niche players, and there may be a big niche player, but there'll be a niche player which will not threaten Amazon, really, not at all. And plus, there's one other thing.
Yeah,
there's hundreds of millions of people who shop on Amazon, and because they make it very convenient to shop. Even with the stretched supply chain, it's still more convenient than most places. And they still, even with the delays in the shipping, they're actually exceeding the timing. It's just because it's convenient, you just don't change. Because
here's my thing, guys. I think we're talking about two different things. And I was telling Brent this yesterday. You're talking about one side of it being as the consumer. I'm looking at this from the supplier that Amazon uses. 50% of the content on Amazon comes from third parties. Amazon doesn't source everything that Amazon sells. Okay. And most of those, we've done the numbers. We had 200,000 sellers, and only how many was them over $1 million? It was a small number.
It was like over $1 million. I think it was like 15,000 or 25,000 or something.
15, 25,000 or $1 million or more sellers. So
that's US. That was just US.
And anytime we talk about Amazon, it's really US, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you just really think about it when you say it's a niche, it's a big niche. This niche, Amazon is built on people's niches, launching products to large audiences. Amazon has a large audience. fantastic. And people want to get in front of that large audience with their small handmade, cream. I just made my own little cream and I can put it on Amazon and all of a sudden I can build a brand from that. We're not really a brand.
You call it the bold one?
Huh?
You're going to call the cream the bold one?
Yeah, it's the
No, it should be the
cream.
cold one, the cold cream one.
But I mean, the deal is,
That's right.
if I'm that guy with the new product, being able to also launch that and sell that on my own through a Shopify store has been a struggle. So we end up having to go the Amazon route. And Amazon doesn't treat everybody as sweet as they treat their Prime members, right? On the back end, it's like slave labor, right?
Niche.
But on the front end, you're wearing Nikes.
All right. I'm calling a truce.
But you get where I'm going.
Yeah, you're getting ready to
go.
You're
Just don't talk.
you're getting ready to go. That's where you're getting ready to go.
Okay. Well, anyway, you get it. It's two different sides.
No, I totally get it.
No, I think that was a fun conversation. I don't know if I'll have my worlds colliding anytime soon after that, but no, that was fun. No, I appreciate a good, healthy conversation, a good, healthy debate. And I still say I was right. All right. Well, I'll see you, of course, next Wednesday.
That's because y'all didn't let Nicole talk. She was already on it.
She's
on.
Paul says niche. I say long tail. So,
Oh, tomato. There it is. All right. Cold one, bold one. Thank you for your time, sir.
Later, folks. Thanks.
We appreciate it. All right. That was fun. I'm so glad that I could sit back and watch most of it. Just you guys going back. It's like watching one good friend go against another good friend, while another good friend just.
It's like watching you and him. Pretty much every show.
Well, I just want to give you guys a taste of my world, so that's it. All right. So
I love him. I absolutely love that guy.
That gave us, we since we didn't have a Viva person coming in, so we could spend a little bit more time doing that. But now it's time for the watch list winner, and it is Viva. So, Mr. Viva, take the stage.
Okay, so as Brent pointed out, we don't have any Viva executives on this week, but we do have me representing them, and here is their entry, Viva. Notice the brilliant handwriting. Whoops, over here. So here's the thing with Viva. I don't know how many of you actually know Viva, but Viva is actually a vertically specific technology built on Salesforce platform, and it's for one single vertical. It's life sciences. The thing about them, though, which I'd say it made them an automatic winner at some level, which is that they have like something along the lines of 98% market share. The market share is literally off the charts in life sciences for that specific industry. I've never seen anything like it. I remember a couple of years ago, I was having a conversation with someone at Viva. It was probably 2017, actually. And I said, so they said something about $800 million. And I said, so that's your market cap? They said, no, that's our revenue. I mean, this is a huge company that has a single vertical, and that's all it does. But the thing about Viva, which makes it fascinating as a company, is that the technology is deep for that particular, and also the domain knowledge is spectacular, and the partner in the ecosystem in combination with the thought leadership they bring to that is literally, let's say you could replicate the model more universally and you'd be doing an amazing job. So for example, if you look at Viva from the standpoint just of technology, their platform literally understands certain key things about life sciences, right? One is regulation and compliance, right? Which is actually a huge deal in that world. If you look at because you're dealing with biotechnology of varying kinds, and that's eventually dealing with, even though these guys don't deal with this too much, but that's dealing with pharmaceutical and other regulated products. The audit trails for every single piece of let's call it digital or otherwise correspondence that crosses a desk or goes to a person, the amount of scrutiny that every single claim that's made by a life sciences company undergoes is absolutely excruciatingly strong. Viva literally builds into the platform the means to not only be compliant, will not only support compliance, but to help you become compliant if you're not. I mean, at that level, for example, they have, I think it's called Viva Vault. It's basically secure vault, for information and data that is absolutely needs to be protected from the standpoint of regulatory requirements. So technologically, and again, given the amount of time we always have here, I can't go into any real detail, but in that case, they are technologically, they built a platform that is universally and arguably the best single industry-specific platform of any kind I've ever seen. Their model now, if you remember, Velocity won also, and Velocity has this is industry-specific now, of course, part of Salesforce, but they have 8 or 9 industries that they're focused on. Viva won, and they dominate to a degree. And you know what? I asked them at one point, do you have any interest in going elsewhere? And right now, no. They don't even feel like they've got the full market saturation yet. And they're already at that level with it. I mean, I don't know how 98% isn't, I guess there's 2% more to harvest there, but that's phenomenal. The other thing that they're very smart on, and there are some, Viva was funny because there were some things they had very distinct weaknesses in, but, and again, this is why they won, not why they almost didn't, right? This is, so I'm focusing on that. But one of the best, the strongest strengths they do have is actually, interestingly enough, good old PR, right? Now, if I'm viewing it from my standpoint, I'll always see them as, this company out there that I talk to once in a great while. And I don't focus on them that much because I'm focused more universally, but I do talk to the management every now and then. But they're smart enough to say, okay, well, look, we don't have the universal recognition, but we do have the industry recognition. And don't forget, if you have that kind of recognition in the industry, you can win the watch list. It can be highly specific. So, for example, in the last last 2 years, let's say, they not only won the watch list last year and this year, but Wall Street Journal's Best Managed Company, IDC, 1, 2, 3 awards, Nucleus, 1 award, PM360, 3 awards over 3 years. The Pharma Voice 100 as the most innovative platform, the Fortune 100 fastest growing company, and so on and so forth. And they have vast recognition. They make the market that they serve very aware of themselves. Should they spread themselves beyond that? Because they do have a very strong CRM platform as well as, the usual CX and compliance and so on and privacy platform pieces they have. Well, yeah, they should, but the reality is they dominate what they're in. And again, if I had more time, I'd tell you more, but I don't, so I won't. So the reality is, so you're looking at a company, a strong partner ecosystem, an amazing level of absolute just market dominance when it comes to market share, a company with a platform that dives deeply into the needs of their actual industry practitioners. And finally, the ability to get out there and do what they have to do to be known in the industry areas that they're known in. So, and that's just some of their strengths. So with that, Viva. That's 2 different spellings in case you didn't get the
Excellent.
It's too bad they didn't have somebody that could come in and join us after all that. So.
Yeah, well, they were busy. What can I say?
It's interesting stuff though, Paul. I mean, a lot of your evaluation of them really resonates for me, even not knowing them very well. And I was nodding because Velocity was the first company that came to my mind when you were talking about them. But I do think that there's this very interesting dichotomy between platforms that are broadly applicable and the ability and the knowledge and the expertise to really narrowly apply them to specific requirements. And it's finding the right balance between the two that is so interesting, because you don't want something that's so narrow and so specialized that it lacks the benefit of those broader industry trends and innovations. But by the same token, if it's not specific enough, a lot of companies just never really get the full benefit from this stuff, because it takes a tremendous amount of knowledge and expertise to, for example, use Salesforce really effectively, right? So it's really, to me, it speaks volumes when a company is able to build that kind of reputation in a specific area, and frankly, a pretty big and important one too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and to your point on that, I mean, and even take a Salesforce or a Microsoft or Oracle, and the big guys, they have industry practices, and there's multiple industries. There's usually between 6 to 12 different industries that they will cover. And then one thing that, I mean, I'm not saying this meanly, but the one thing that characterizes all of them is the unevenness between the quality of the industry solutions that they have. The solutions are all built on their platform. And this is technically if you want to call it a solution, you can, but really the thing that makes them different is they built a platform on Salesforce's platform. They didn't build a solution on Salesforce's platform. And that's what makes this so powerful, because the level of, I mean, they literally, it doesn't matter what segment of life sciences you're in, you can build to it appropriately. And they pretty much taken all of that into account, which makes them so strong. The bigger guys, I mean, Salesforce gets a big jump forward with the acquisition of Velocity, who was very good at most of what they provide, especially telco, which they were the best, at least I think one of the best at. But Viva, I don't doubt. Look, like anything else, we have to see what comes. I mean, obviously they become of mission critical importance with COVID-19. I mean, it's like, it's their industry in part. It's not quite the same as health services. It overlaps though a great deal. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do over the next few years, because you have to align with the new realities that we're going to be facing. So, and I don't know what that means right now, but to date, these guys are so strong. They have the only company I've seen with a market share even close to that was Pros in the travel industry. Right. Pros, I think, was like 85 or 90% in airlines in particular. So, and that's the only one I've even seen close. So, these guys deserved it, and wasn't, honestly, they have some holes that they need to fix, and they really do need to fix them for sustaining that impact that they've had, but they were not a hard choice.
Who's next week?
I don't remember.
Great plug, Paul. Great plug.
Right. If you want to wait a half hour, I'll let you know.
Nah, that's quite all right. We'll find out next week.
Yeah.
All right. So we're coming up at the top of the hour, so we got to close the show. So I thought it would be fun to close the show with the segment that everybody is just talking about. Even we converted people, because our biggest detractor, because he thought it was going against our corporate narrative and brand, was Alan Berkson, and then last week he's sending us one, so I guess it wasn't going against our corporate narrative that much.
Well, I think he finally realized we don't have a corporate brand.
I mean, but
on it to be, yeah.
How long has he known us?
Narrative. Yeah,
either
like
one.
100 years.
Yeah, and he's just finding that out. All right. So anyway, it is protect the identity, but not the stupidity. And this week, Mr. Paul Greenberg gives us.
Oh, we have one. I've been literally waiting for this moment since I'm not joking. Since 2009, I've been carrying this printed email. No joke. Because this is literally the worst single email I have ever gotten, bar none, from someone pitching me. Just start with the first paragraph right alone. I just discovered your blog and want to say how much I appreciate your insights. You are teaching people to want what we offer. Now, again, I never heard of this guy. I didn't hear of his company at the time. I still don't know, as you'll see in the next paragraph, what TNG stands
I was
for.
going to ask.
11 years later, I have no idea what that is. But I want you to understand something. This guy literally starts out by completely insulting me by saying I've spent the last decade of my life working on insights and developments so that I could actually help him tell his stuff. And that's all I've been doing, really. It gets worse, though. That's the sad part.
And you still don't know at this point what his stuff is. So just thought I'd throw that.
No, I don't have. It has something to do with CRM and TNG, and people who dream about it, I guess. So
yeah,
and I'll look at the next sentence again. This is a guy trying to get my attention, right? Oh, he got that. I mean, I've walked around with this for 11 years. So as I read people who dream about CRM, TNG, I don't see any evidence that anyone other than my company is addressing the impossibility of bridging gaps from 1 to 2 without getting a handle on people, blah, 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 blah. And
I'm not even sure what that really means, Paul. Did
Nothing. That's the whole point. This is literally the stupidest email I've ever seen. Right?
I need to go paragraphs.
I'm almost tempted to violate the privacy part. The guy is such an idiot. But I mean, the arrogance of that alone, and anybody who has even a vague idea about me is the first thing I will attack is literally people who do that. I hate when people say they're the only company who do anything. You lose points in the watch list for saying that, by the way. So as a hint, one of my hidden 35, that's one of them. You say we are the only company, and if you don't give me a new atomic table element, then you are not the only company, right? So this guy immediately like 0 for 2. And then he goes through this whole, basically what it seems to have done is build a skin of some kind, right? So, okay, so we do all that. Yeah, that's literally what it seems he actually has done. An animated high cool factor skin. So we then go down a little bit and we get down to, we have a demo. Watch this thing. We have a demo on our site that introduces some basic concepts. However, I think the best use of your time is to work through a webinar with me. You'll see the latest version as you fire all your toughest questions at me. Now, here's a guy really telling me how I should live my life at this point, which is, of course, do a webinar with him.
Well, I was going to say, so, I'm just guessing, but don't you usually get paid to do webinars for vendors? I mean,
oh yeah. Now he may be talking about an analyst session. I don't know because I don't care. I never did. Right. But when I saw, I think the best use of your time, here's a guy who's literally never met me, knows nothing about me, has just insulted me and everybody in the industry about 5 times. And now he's telling me how I should use my day. Right. And in fact, my life, apparently. And then he goes on to, of course, thank me for all my blogging, which, of course, is teaching people to want what he offers. So there you go. This is literally the worst email I've had. That's why I've carried it for 11 years, waiting for this moment. The only thing I have left is this printed copy. I had it on my wall, up on my wall. And when I'm done, I'm going to take off the tape that was on that so that I could cover up the name and everything. And then I'll put it back on my wall to remind me how stupid people can be sometimes, which, given my normally sunny disposition, that's really a big statement for me to make. Right? I like people. This guy, I don't like. Right? Unbelievable. It's like, wow. I wonder. You know what? I need to actually. I'm going to check and see if his company's still in business. Oddly, I think I know his company now.
I was just going to say, I just want to thank you for all your blogging. Yeah, it's been great.
Yes, thanks for all the blogging, Paul.
My pleasure. I'm so happy I can help him.
I just want to know what CRM. I have a better understanding of what CRM TMZ is than
TNG.
TMZ. That's it.
It's like, they catch us in the act of like clicking on some software or something. I
went for the clickbait. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. It's OJ and TNG. Oh, I'm typing it in now. See if it's still alive.
Oh God.
Okay, I'm typing it in. Before we close, what's your bet? Is this going to be a dead site or his site?
What year was this? I'm gonna go with no. I think
2009. I'm gonna say it's a Bulgarian site.
Nope, he's still there.
What?
Well, I don't know if he's still there, but it's still there. It's actually, I was afraid so, but it's a company that you actually probably know.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, they've certainly changed a bit, but let me.
Now I want to know who it is now. I don't want you to protect the identity anymore. We're renaming this segment.
you can tell us privately, Paul. How's that?
Yeah, we won't tell anyone.
No.
Okay, so well, you know what? I will type it in the right now. I'll type it in the chat.
All right. While you're doing that, I got to pop this up again from Liz. I love how you have challenged Six Sigma, Zuck, and Bezos. Did we miss anybody? Liz, are you sure that was it?
The only scary one. The only scary one. The only scary one is Six Sigma because they're black belts. They're scary. They get hit.
Oh well.
At least we didn't also go after Agile and Scrum, Paul. That would have been too much fun.
Yeah, next time.
Well, no, wait a minute.
Facebook local.
You actually did go after somebody else. You went after Joe DiMaggio, actually.
No, I love Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah, but the Civil War, you took sides. I'm sorry, you went with.
Oh no, I did. Mickey Mantle was the best center fielder in history. There's no question. But I still love Joe DiMaggio.
Where did you go, Joe? Wait a minute, I can't sing. Wait a minute, aren't we supposed to end this episode with our player in residence doing some form of entertainment, taking us out?
I did not know that was a requirement when I took the job. To be clear.
What? Blame it on Jamie.
Yeah.
You could pull out the flight charts.
I have one right here.
All right, there you
go. No
kidding,
I actually do. Here we go. This is a San Diego terminal area chart. Let me see what kind of magic I can pull up for you guys.
Yeah.
Here we go. Some of my favorite San Diego airports right in here.
Oh, see, that's entertaining.
Yeah, you like that?
Let me see. Jamie Anderson, Jamie doing singing and playing a guitar, or L. Nicole with some charts.
Yeah, I know who wins on that one. You don't have to tell me.
Sorry, Nicole.
I know.
But there's always the next third Thursday. So
yeah.
Well, maybe it's time for a little lip syncing. You never know. I can pull out you know?
Karaoke on CRM Playaz.
You and Liz handled it really well at A+ Experience. At the A+ Experience Summit.
I think that's got legs.
I'm right there with you on it. I'm going with A+.
I'm going to break out the turntables and do it one day.
That would be cool.
I'll
name
close
that
it
segment
down.
Name that tune segment at the end, which I can't name a single.
I'm gonna call it CRMT, whatever.
TNG.
The remix.
Yeah. There it is.
Maybe the next group, I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of that company.
Yeah.
All right. This was fun. This was different because, whenever the cold one, the bold one, John Cold Rice Lawson comes and
I will buy a beer.
Beer and ice cream. That's the other thing. Ice
cream and beer.
Ice cream, beer, and face cream.
That sounds.
Yeah, I know it's a difference, but
that sounds like next week's happy hour drink / treat.
Yeah, cold cream.
Not the cold cream part, but the
I
root
could bring
beer.
a buffalo milk. It sort of looks like cold cream.
That'd be cool.
Okay, I think
next week I'm going to have alcohol. Next week I'm going to make a recipe. I'm going to do a recipe of a great drink, and then I'm going to have the recipe ready for everybody.
And on that note, folks, what can you say after that? Except for join us next week so you can see Paul drink that.
And other people take down the recipe.
All right. So it's time to end it because, tomorrow we got sports and then we're back here again next week. So I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
And I'm the player in residence, El Nicole France.
Wow,
that was the best one so far.
Classy.
You outdid Jamie on that one. I hope you're taking notes because she just outdid you on that.
Man.
I have to come up with another initial.
Oh, that was a beauty.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, and we will see you. Well, we'll see you tomorrow for sports, and this again next week. Have a good one.